Good morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
Yeah, it was mixed, but I just played it close to the vest and really Monday just kind of crushed it, just buying the dip on some stuff, and then a lot of volatility, but Friday was a great day. LLY just you just kind of return to what you know, and went 300 to like 1400 in 5 minutes and just called it a day and then just started looking at flow for the next week. But yeah, I mean, good overall for me. It was, I kind of enjoyed the conditions of the flash crash and the panic and all that, just to see our levels, take a look at them, that we hadn't seen in a while. So that was good. A lot of stuff under levels that I think is kind of going for retests, and that's a good spot because that's kind of a trade in and of itself. And then you see if it can actually clear the level, and then we go from there. But yeah, solid overall. Just kind of wild conditions. You just gotta be careful.
100%. Pretty good week for me, but that was mainly because of the Lumen. I can buy a lot of shares of a dollar stock. So when they run like that, man, I end up in a good position. Um, so I kind of to be honest with you, after that Lumen move, didn't really do much. Um, Monday, Tuesday, I did dabble a little bit with Nvidia, Tesla. Um, kind of didn't get enough, but man, gonna be a topic here going forward. You gotta have a plan when your levels hit. You can't just sit on your hands, and we'll definitely get more into that. Um, got out of Sava and Foot Locker. Those kind of just had them for a little too long, and they were up green, and the market kind of felt off to me, and I kind of wanted to shut it off a little bit. So,
Yeah.
big week because of Lumen. You get lucky every now and again. Um, and then yeah, kind of just let go for the rest of the week. So didn't really see much. Um, level two and time and sales on Thursday and Friday. But it didn't look like I missed anything. Most plays were inside the box or down towards the end of the week. Real interesting though, just in general, because you preach it. I kind of just to rotate into regular stuff here, but you preach, and I think I said it Monday right away. You preach that if we get a big gap down Monday morning, we're probably not continuing down. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that was the theme for the week, for the
Yeah.
most case. The action happened in the first, like, I forgot who said it. It sticks with me a little bit because last time Nvidia dipped at 100, it was like for 30 minutes. And you didn't have a chance. Well, the people buying puts didn't have a chance. Like
Right.
you
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
have a chance. You had 30 minutes and it was over. And so it's an interesting candle on SPY for sure this week. I got the chart up right now.
Yeah.
That we basically re- reclaimed it all, and it's exactly what you talk about when you talk about if you have a hard pre-market down on any equity, just an individual play, let alone the market, that you're probably going to get most of it back during the day. This just happened in the form of the weekly.
Yeah. I mean the exceptions. CrowdStrike was like a major operational failure, right? And so it continued down for a couple weeks. Celsius, there was demand issues have continued to take that down. So there has to be a narrative behind it. Apple dropping 10% pre-market. I mean, come on now. That's not gonna that's not gonna hold down there.
Buy a
And it's
put,
not
right?
what
That's your put
buy a yeah
confirmation. Put
yeah buy
confirmation.
a put. Yeah, it's gonna maybe it'll dip to twelve
It's
percent.
got
Yeah,
it's got 30 more in it. No, it's got 30 more
yeah,
percent in it, P.
exactly right. Yeah, the line to zero. So yeah, real quick on Lumen, I wanted to just talk about. Okay, so Beyond Meat, and a shout out to Hugh, honestly, for he's like, hey, we got news on Beyond,
Yeah,
and
no, I
and my
caught that.
initial
Yeah, yep.
yeah, my initial reaction was, what are you talking about? And then I look, I look at it, I look at my position, and it went up 40% in 20 minutes, and it halts. And I had said, like, I'm selling, and I got out before the halt just because I know it'll come back. And it came back all the way and then went red. Versus Lumen that exploded, held the gains, flow reloads, and it goes from there. So talk real quick about like the anatomy of those two moves. What makes something pop like that and then just give it all back versus what happened with Lumen? I kind of know what happens on the option side, but what do you see in those conditions?
Well, it's real. It's as simple, and I kind of talked to it about last week. It's just you got to keep the interest in. It's all about volume is
Yeah,
interest in the stock. I mean, the old man Warren Buffett saying is short term the market is a voting booth, and long term it's a scale. And what that means is it's basically a popularity contest. I mean, it's who's betting on which side. It's no different than like how they make Vegas odds. If people are taking 7 points, they're moving it to 7.5 to get people to take -7 points. So it's a voting booth, and
yeah,
that's the same as price action. I mean, it's the same thing. In theory, it's the same mechanics. So you need the interest. The whole grand scheme of it, to get to like just the nuts and bolts of it, you have to have interest, and interest is volume. So not that you need the initial volume, but that's why the 30-day is so important to me, is because you need above average volume of what the market makers are used to. So they run out of supply. There's more demand than supply.
yeah,
And Lumen um, got news. It's gotten news 2 or 3 times now. So it's not just I mean, we got news, and then we had ER to back up the news, and then they redid the news, right? So
yeah,
they're showing better trailers, um, to the show that
yes,
people are interested in. I mean, that's what's making it happen right now. And then there's more interest than there are seats. You ever try buy concert tickets and they sell out the first day, and then you go in the secondary market? Supply and demand 101.
yes,
I mean, that's what it is. So for me, that's why I'm a firm believer in Lumen. I said, like, three's kind of going to be the pivot. And if you look at it, I think we went to 230. That was the lowest it got. But um, that to me, I always look for that middle ground of where people going to go. This is worth the risk. I mean, because that's what trading's about, right? It's about risk. Where does this seem like a good deal? And then you're just looking for that volume to come back in. I mean, the price doesn't matter at that point in time. People will pay whatever. I think I used to use my the last bag of Coke at a frat house on a Friday night. It's gonna go for a lot more than something on a Tuesday when a guy has a pocket full. So you just
yeah,
kind of figure that out along the way, and that's why shout out to Hugh, because I seen it as well. Again, that was just in my shut down part of the week. Um, the news usually creates the interest. That's why it's important. But you should already have some levels determined, to
yeah.
to kind of know. Good time to say kind of know what fair market value is. That was the thing about Lumen. I mean, let's just say why we were on Lumen. It was nothing with Flow or TA really, right? I have a buddy that works
Right.
for T-Mobile that I asked probably a year and a half ago. I mean, I showed you all the screenshots. He made 13K off options, doesn't even trade options. But we talked about the company's value, and he was like, "Bro, they're not going away. They just can't go away. We pay them a check. They can't go away. We would buy them first." So
Yeah.
then you look at the fundamentals, and they're like, "Okay, this should be like a $6-7 stock." Just in general, like if someone was going to buy it out tomorrow, we're trying to do like the Hawaiian Airlines thing or something, find the buyout,
Mhm.
or the Kroger, Albertsons we've been waiting on. Same thing. You just know
Yeah.
there's going to be that news coming in the short term. I'm sorry, you have to wait maybe a year, 2 or 3. That is going to push the stock to, for the. In my opinion, it was going to be 3 to 5x. I didn't see 9 coming at all.
Yeah.
I just really didn't. But that if you get your sizing right, dollar stocks are easy to size for UNC. So if you get your
Well,
sizing
yeah.
right, you kind of DCA, scale in, scale out, you get a good position. Yeah, it's treat it like a bill and just wait.
Well, I mean, who else didn't think it was going to do that was the people writing option strikes because it only ran to 6C. I mean, like that was it. So when, after Lumen had fallen and hovered around $1, and like, they start writing the new book for options. They only ran it to 6, which, by the way, when it plows through 6 and there's no other higher strikes, like that's where you are going to get a pullback, and probably to that number or somewhere around there, and then it resets, and I go read it again, and we go from there. But it's a great spot to be in to already have your position, your free shares, you cashed out. Beyond me, I didn't even have to tell anybody. They all just did it. When who had it sold on that pop, yes, that's what you do, because it goes to $9. It's not going straight to 12 from 9. It's coming back, and and then here we go again, and it's just the quality of the news isn't going to be as good for them. It is going to be that limited pop. No one needs Beyond Meat like somebody needs Lumen. They're not getting a check from Walmart. Sure. So yeah, no, that was just kind of an interesting moment, and I just wanted to give you a shout out on that.
Well, hey, real quick on that, I don't post a lot of screenshots in the room on purpose. And 2 points I want to make on Lumen Trade really, really kind of show why. And I mean, I talked to you, a lot more than other people do, but I had about 8,000 shares of Lumen. And if you just run the quick math, you're thinking, well, Unc, you should have made 85K. Like, you top to bottom that thing. Well, it goes back to that window thing. I protected my initial profit on a move up and got rid of a lot of them probably too early, and I got rid of some at the top, and I still have a handful of them, right? So my number's closer to like 30, not 90, right? So like that's like a third. It's like a third of it, all right, of that move. So that management though protects my neck, keeps me in, and I'll be around. And it's not about home runs. It's about being in the proper position and being able to not lose over and over again. And for me, that's always worked. And the same thing with NVIDIA. Like I was upfront and honest about when I sold NVIDIA, and it ran a lot more. But that's not the point.
Yeah.
My account looks fine. And if you just use our information, this is where I'm going to toot my horn a little bit. If you just use our information to your style, I mean, my buddy, like I said, he's a T-Mobile employee. I showed you the text messages. He fucking made $13K on swinging options. Do you think that's my trade? You think that's how I trade? No, that's how he trades. It's what he wants to do. And I don't know what 100 options at 0.004 cost. Is that $40 or $400? I don't know. But whatever it is, like it just fits his style, right? He can gamble, so to speak, with that kind of money and hang out and plays. And like he was long term in that. Swinging options.
It's 40 cents.
Okay, well, no wonder he was long term in it.
Right.
But you just got to make it your own style, and it'll work for you. You really do. And whether it's in and out of trades, it's just ER plays, it's long term swings like Pele does, where he just relentlessly buys more until it goes up. You figure out your own style and what works for you, and yeah.
Well, yeah,
a little bit of a rant there.
And you really don't want to try to top ticket. I mean with options, especially when that contract takes off, LLY, like I said, I mean, it's a huge move it went a lot higher, but it takes. And if you're an option, that's $500 gone in 20 seconds, and then it's like, is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? That's never a position you want to be in after you just had a big pop like that. So re-enter at some long shot higher strike if you got to stay in it, but you have to clear that initial profit. I mean, as far as catching the top goes,
go for it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, AVGO is my example. It's kind of my NVIDIA, and I told a guy on Twitter, who one of those Elliott Waves dudes, I was like, well, I think over 1,400 is kind of borrowed time on this thing. So I don't really want to long it very much up here, and I cleared out most of what I had. And he all has his little zigzags to 2,000 or something, and it went a lot farther. It had that big earnings, went to 1,850, but it's right back. It's right back here. I re-entered in the low 130s. It's 148 now. So just wait around. It comes back. Roku
Oh,
came
it's
back. I mean, you know, they do. We don't erase our lines for a reason. And the short term euphoria is very fun and everything, but but we know there are things that are likely going to pull the market back, and we know what kind of disaster it's going to feel like for people, and we know that's when we can hop back in a lot of this stuff.
yeah, yeah, and knowing what a real trend change is, I think is a big difference between us grown-ups and what you see on Twitter.
Yeah,
Because I don't
yeah, yeah,
think they've looked at a chart. Even if they're looking at a daily chart, it's only got 3 months of candles on it. So I mean, I don't know
yeah,
if they
yeah,
can really figure out a trend. To be honest with you, kind of to bump off what I was saying, like, well, like, yeah, sounds great. Need to figure out my style and stuff. Well, I'm going to tell you from the swing trading standpoint, it's got to be something because I mean I've done that a little bit longer than I have day traded swing thing. I had to swing trade when I was in work, and that was just the way I like to trade. So, but it's got to be palatable to your brain that it's not the only thing on your mind, and that might be only 100 shares of this dollar stock, right? You might not be able to put a
yeah,
thousand shares into the dollar stock, but you got to figure that out first, and that's like the big. I mean, that's literally probably 40 to 50% of the hang up for people is they plant that flag on that first investment, and they just it's already too big of an investment. If you're
yeah,
only going to put 800 in there total, if you only put 500 in there total, if you're 5,000 or an 8,000, I don't care. If you're only a 50 or an 80, spread it out a little bit if you're swinging. If you're day trading, I get planting a flag, but you should be as quick in as you are out with some of it. But
yeah,
on the swinging, take your fucking time, bro. Just take your time. I mean, I'm looking at all my winners in the last 5 years, and the big ones are the ones I took my time with. They're not the ones that
yeah,
I got in one day. And Lumen's why I'm saying that, because Lumen was really stressful to me. Because I usually trade to my level, right, and then I have a plan. It's like getting on base. You just get on base, then you have a plan. And if I'm around one of my levels, I know how to lead off, so to speak.
yeah,
Best way to put
yeah,
it. I know how to lead off. So Lumen didn't have no levels for me up there. So it's a harder trade. It's a more mental trade for me. And I mean, taking 30% of the total profit out of it, you tell a lot of people that be like shit, you fucked that all up. But again, it's more about the other way for me, right? Not losing money, um,
yes.
and protecting the neck. And with the mention earlier on Tesla and Nvidia, kind of rotate there a little bit. If you man, I think it was Hugh. So Hugh, you got a good and a bad, but that 30 minutes that Tesla or that Nvidia was at 100 like a week ago, and everybody was like, "Well, you had to be quick, yada yada yada." No, you just had to be ready, and then you had to be ready Monday too. You really did.
Yeah,
And the same with Tesla. It was the same thing. Tesla went right to my level Monday morning. I can pull it up on the screen if we want. I mean, I don't care. I'll show it. Twitter has my Tesla levels by now.
yeah, yeah,
If you're doing half the work, but I mean, we went right to Unk's level. I think I said 2 weeks before in just an open conversation to you, we're gonna go to my level. So I mean, if you're not ready and you're scared, this ain't never gonna work, and you need to figure that out about yourself and probably become a different kind of trader. Because if every red candle you just change your opinion or your plan that you should already have in place, you're not gonna get the easiest setups. And
well, yeah, based on the Tesla conversation, I mean, I have a pivot at 220, but it's a pivot down, like, and so I I went ahead and bought a put at your level, like 2 months out when it was 220, and I'm like, I'll just
hold
I think
this.
this probably, I didn't even hedge it, like I just this is probably going down there, and then I cashed it out Monday, and I
Hey, real quick, Pete. Probably we've been together how long? Let me know when I
I know,
let me know when I miss on Tesla. Let me know.
yeah,
Let me know.
yeah.
Keep me
No, that was
honest. Keep me
that
honest.
was the thing. Yeah, I said, oh, it's probably breaking down to your level. You're like, no, it is. And so it did. On swing trading, I just want to make a quick comment about that with with options. I get a lot of questions about the hedging, and I think people are getting better at it. That if you want to stay in an options trade, even if it's November calls or something, um, you have to protect yourself on the other side with short expiration puts, and the position has to be big enough and up enough where it's worth it to burn 50 $75 if that doesn't work, because when it does work, it gets a little crazy. Like so with coin dropped over 20% Monday pre-market. Opened, I think it was down 14 or 16 or something like that. So I had some calls for November. I still have them. They were close enough to the money where, you know, whatever. But the reason I kept them was because I had a near the money weekly put that I bought on Friday that, opened up a ridiculous percentage, just as protection. And so then once I cashed that out, that cost more than, or the profit on that was more than I even paid for the calls that I'm swinging. So now
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
now they're free, and now who cares? And you have to do that. And I did the opposite of that with NVO. NVO, we were bearish on it. It broke down on earnings, but I looked at the earnings calendar and I'm like, oh well, shit. LLY has earnings tomorrow. That's the Netflix to the Roku of weight loss drugs, which is NVO.
Yep.
So I got to protect the other side here, and it it recovered that full move, popped back over 130, and probably looks kind of bearish from here. But you had to protect yourself on the other side. Shares, you don't really need to do that. You don't have the time. You don't have the time consideration or that or that volatility.
Decay.
But you have to find hedges that work for you, and the same ones aren't going to work for everybody. And I'll just close with I didn't understand why people bought SQQQ December calls, saw it go up $50, and then sold it. I mean, that's fine. Take your $50. I just want to do it with that one. That wasn't the point of that trade. Well, all those calls went in the money, pretty deep in the money, and that's some pretty massive protection for share positions that really aren't in that bad a shape, like Snow and a couple others, but that tech stuff. So now I start sell. Now I sell it. Like now I start trimming that or roll it or whatever. But I didn't buy 10C on SQQQ for it to go 7 to 7.35. Like I was like, this is going to go in the money if what I think might happen happens, and so that maybe is a learning experience for people too. And again, options, all this stuff, this is all very complicated. You can trade much easier than this if you want to. And so I always encourage people to think about doing some of that. I had Lumen. I didn't do anything. I just wait. I just watched that move happen and started to sell what I had. Beyond Meat, same thing. Shares, they just sat there. Um, I got a lot of small cap oil and stuff like that too. So you gotta have some of that in your basket as well. Do not be one of those people who's an options trader, starts over every day. Um, that's not good psychologically.
Yeah, no, 100%. Um, you definitely just have to. I mean, you have to do what fits for you, but part of what fits for you is that emotional attachment, and we saw that this week. Like
Yeah,
if you didn't have a plan for a pullback, especially after we talked about the April candles, if you didn't have a plan for a pullback, that's 100% on you. If you had a plan for your pullback and you couldn't execute, you need to switch your style up also. But so I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of a two prong thing for me there. I think the option hedge and especially your ER pages is working really well just because we're overextended with a lot of volatility waiting for an event. So it's almost like the the free money trade or the best place to be at right now. It's where the fish are jumping on the option side, and a
Yeah.
lot of people haven't picked that up. They're trying to play one big move in a direction, and we're just not. If we get it, you got to. I mean, we're getting it for one day, and you have to just be really good at timing, and then you're really quick because you. I'm assuming like, if you have a 5 to 7% pullback, and then you make that up one day, like you're getting, or you have a 5 to 7% pullback over a week or two, and you make that up in one day, or vice versa. The decay is gonna level out for you on the option side. You're just gonna get washed around. I assume you need more than that. So like trying to time it right now is very hard, but the volatility's there, which the ER is easy to time, right? You know when that volatility is gonna come in.
Yeah,
It's gonna come
exactly.
in on the
Yep.
news event. So I mean, I think that's really trying to like dissect it. That's what it is right now. But that's not. I say that because it's not going to last forever or be as efficient as ever. But we're in a pretty perfect storm right now for that in general. So, um,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Getting to some boring stuff. I wrote a note, kind of weird unk style here, but because you've been kind of talking about, the war, and then like, you always bring in those big boring names like Lockheed and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and I'm like, I'm not gonna trade this shit. Um, it just doesn't work for me. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but oil is a great Middle East war sympathy play. I'm about that life. So,
Yeah.
and I know not to give away too much of what we make people pay for, but I did like those charts in your fucking 31 flavors of charts this week, sir. um, which was kind of surprising that I like that sector, but with the conflict we see every week, especially in that region, makes sense, especially where those charts are.
uh, yes, and I mean in oil, I said that it was around 72, and I was just like, you really don't want this to break down from here for very long. You don't want to it to get in the 60s or anything like that. But that the pullback it was having overall wasn't really a big deal, and that a lot of stuff was holding up well. They had earnings coming up. I OKE, Devon, Oxy. Oxy's probably the easiest,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean they're pretty well positioned, and there is a scenario in flow for Oxy to go to like 75. Um, doesn't mean it's going to happen. We might mess around with these levels down here for a while, but yeah, I mean there's a potentially explosive move in oil that I think we can cash in on.
Yeah, no, it just makes sense on a lot of levels, and it kind of also has the political backing. If the red guys win, oil's good. It has that going on too. So I mean, there's just
Yeah, yeah,
a lot that looks good. The prices, I mean, I kind of bump off the point that we need to pound home to a lot of people, but you don't want to buy oil stuff when it's at 90. You'd want to buy it when it's at low 70s. That's a good time to buy,
yeah,
and that's where we are. So, um, and
yeah,
and
absolutely.
and going into the summer as well. So that it just kind of all lines up right now. It really stood out to me more than normal. Um,
Yeah.
maybe it took me 2.5 years to learn oil, but it's looking good now. Um, any other boring stuff? Yeah, I know you want to talk a little crypto.
yeah, yeah. So copper. Um, I had said that for a lot of people, copper becomes kind of the big recession canary in the coal mine, so to speak, and that $4 is a big level. I said we were gonna probably dip under four, and we did, but not really for very long. And so it's bounced. It's held okay. I mean, it hasn't broken down further. Um, I said that you want a higher low somewhere between 4 and 375. So kind of wait and see on that. I just think it's a good time. Like I DCA FCX around here. I get interested in the South American stuff again. So as recession fears lessen, which I think they probably will, um, copper's going to take off again. So um, good time to have some. what you don't want to add FCX and Cenex and all them like after they pop 15% from here. Because yes, they can go much higher, but you're kind of in no man's land at that point. So um, uncomfortable buys. That's a good example of that to me right now.
Dang it! I'm gonna say the same thing about uncomfortable buys, especially
Yeah,
I mean, don't search the group, but when crypto was at that 50 mid 50s, I was like, all right, get a little, and I think those are gonna do well this week. That's gonna be the easy trade this week. Um,
yeah.
as far as the copper goes, I just wait for you. I like copper, natural gas, and uranium. And right now, it just seems like you have to be patient with it. Um,
Yeah,
but again, chart's in a good position. Market maybe not um, as favorable just to make people pile into commodity plays. But like I was interested with Cenex last week. I watched that probably more than I should um, because it's offering an entry again, and we made it through the event, so to speak. But um, those ones you just have to be a little more, I guess, patient with. I don't know how you play options on that outside of swinging
yeah.
on any commodity, right? Like you don't scalp oxy calls on the daily,
No, no,
right?
it's not. It's just not. Yeah, it's not. It's not worth it. I mean, you know, I could make 30, 40 bucks on Oxy every day, but it's a lot of maintenance and
Yeah,
there's just better options setups. And that's what tends to be in my notes that, because if Oxy has an aggressive flush, like it sometimes does, it's usually just going to hang out there for a bit. You're not going to get the rocket back to the level. It's going to happen 2 days later. And, and that's not where you want to be with like trading weeklies or something.
there was one commodity I wanted to ask you about, and I forgot what it was, and I should have wrote it down. Um, did you cover all the crypto? You want to cover a little?
Um,
Did you say enough
oh
on it?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean the point at which people think crypto is this big disaster um, is often where it starts to get interesting. The way that 50K bounce, um, was just such a big opportunity, and then the people waiting for it to crash back down um, might be waiting a while because the way that the stocks themselves hit some levels that we talked about and then took off, definitely lend some strength to some continuation here. So I like crypto too. I had a lot on my list. I think the people who bought way out of the money when Bitcoin was 70K, they're in some trouble. But as far as getting back in, I think there's a lot of good setups there.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that most in the next session because Unk's calling a shot right now. You're gonna hear Professor saying, "Yeah, yeah, definitely crypto, but I like yours better." That's what you're gonna hear.
Yeah,
That's what you're
yeah,
gonna hear in the next session. Um, so I do look forward to that. Yeah, no, you kind of got a higher low, and that's what we were looking for. Pullback
yeah,
almost needed, to be honest with you. And pullback very helpful on the charts. I mean, who was? I mean, we know who. Don't say their name, but who was buying Mara in the 20s, 24, and then expecting it to go to 30? I mean, what are you doing?
yeah.
There's no line
Right.
there.
Yeah,
There's no line there
yeah,
to respect, or like the
yeah.
CLSK trade didn't seem easy for people either. That 15 to
Right.
18 didn't seem like a tradable range for the option folks. It worked for the shares. It wasn't. It was like how you talk about Oxy. It wasn't the easiest trade to manage, but you could do it. Um, but some of those are back on some prime support, and I think we've showed that through the years that it's not necessarily you know Bitcoin does this and you just go to these two stocks. As Bitcoin does this and you analyze the sector and you kind of can figure
Yeah.
it out through the flow and TA which ones have the biggest range left in them or are biggest setup in them. And a lot of those smalls they just can't hide in from you, to be honest with you. Um, couple that with the support of the TA and it's usually a pretty safe setup.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's been kind of a bread and butter all year. So So yeah, definitely looking forward to getting back in some of those.
You good to rotate in the spy here?
Yeah, yeah,
So last week, this fucking candle right here. Um, yeah, I mean, and no one, I don't know. You're Nostradamus if you called the flush that happened Monday. But
yeah, yeah.
534, 510 was high low there. I was 538, 524. You were 542, 523. So we kind of had similar bottoms. I was definitely under you on the underside. I was looking for another steady stare down candle. This is not a
Yeah.
steady stare down candle for me at all. And I don't know what you got on the option side, but from a TA perspective, it's pretty fucking simple. We either are going to stay inside this big ass green bar zone for a week or two, or we're just going to retrace these red candles. I mean, that's there's no more downside to me
Yeah.
than the 510. Like that's not happening. We're either going to be a white candle next week, or we're going to be another green candle back into these red candles. But it'll be a small green candle. It won't be a big green candle.
Uh, yeah. So for me, the idea on SPY has been pretty simple. The past 3 weeks or so, I said that December 500p woke up, and there's your downside scenario. And it doesn't have to go in the money or anything, but when I said it woke up, it was $300. It's $1,100 now, and it gives them some flexibility. But what you need that kind of that 1-2 punch to to take it down. And 816 520 is kind of the one, but I'm not real optimistic that they can necessarily do much with that. That's 12 points down. That'll be the attempt. So if they're gonna make an attempt for downside this week, it's sort of through that contract in their SPX equivalents. So that's your retrace down um, if we do have it. So I think you just want to be mindful that can happen. I don't expect the same kind of fireworks and futures tonight that we had last week, but you certainly could see a gap down, and then you gauge the reaction from there.
Yeah, it's how I mean 520. It stands out. That's where I
Yeah,
mean 530, 510. The middle of that's 520. So if you're gonna get that mid candle hover play, that's that one. The only other option is you bump out and then we're like 552 at the end of the week.
yeah,
552, 59, something like that, because you do kind of hold the base of here. Not to get too off topic or anything, but what'd you think about the brokers being down and during that time and whatnot? It didn't feel like they GameStop the market. I'm not going to go out that far, but it definitely didn't feel random. Kind of reminded me
yeah,
of that crescendo we had. I think it was 2022, where the market just shot down in an hour. Like every single stock went down the same amount in an hour. Kind of felt like
yeah.
that on a lesser scale. Um, but what I remember of
So
that is it recovered really soon. So, kind of your take on that.
well, see, you know how in sports where the offense is like football, the offense is just tearing you up, and all of a sudden your linebacker collapses down. He's got cramps. You got to slow the game down. You got to bring the trainers out.
Yeah.
You take him off the field, and then he's fine, and he comes back in.
Yep.
Um,
I'm a soccer
uh,
fan. You ain't got to tell
that,
me about that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that to me is what happened. That we're gonna nerf this a bit. We're gonna slow it down. We're gonna turn off the 24-hour trading, and we're gonna use the volatility excuse, which they never use to the upside. Um,
Yeah.
and uh, and so yeah. So we're gonna calm things down. And when you do that, it allows whales to regroup, and they just charge right in, and buy it up, and it's just about finding equilibrium at that point. It's not about you know ripping back to new highs or anything like that.
It's really
But
not about price. It's not about price even. It's about probably
it's how
quantity.
a yeah, exactly. It's how a big wick is created, and that was what they did, where it's like we need to get some of this selling to reject and bring things back a bit. So yeah, it's definitely manipulation. It's not GameStop level. I agree, but they're using the tools that they have um,
Yes, sure.
to slow things down. So yeah, that's what happened.
Some gray area there for sure, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
So for me, I mean, if you believe in they, and that's not how we trade, but just in general, if you believe in they, if they came in and took a bunch of shares down here at 510, I don't think we're going to 490. I think 550 is
yeah,
probably more likely. Why
exactly.
would
Yeah,
they?
no,
Why would they buy something and have it go down? Why would they break the rules to get their hands on whatever they needed and it go down? So, um, I'm for just a small green candle up this week. I'll be honest, P. I don't think we stay down here. I don't know. I don't know if you're seeing that stack up at your end, but that's just kind of my feel of the room that we've done. We did it in April, kind of the same thing. Um, Here, I'll zoom in on this candle right here. Yeah, one of
yeah,
these guys.
yeah.
One of these guys, right? Like just maybe a little bit. Um, but that candle ending right here at like around 40, 42 is just kind of stands out to me.
Yeah, I think the 40 test is definitely in the shorter expiration stuff. So I'm with you there.
I'm gonna go.
You want
I'm
you
gonna go
want
right here. 542.44 on the upside. The upside's real easy for me. And then I just like that 20 area. But not spy's not psychological, so I'll go 523 again. What did I do last week? Let's double down. Let's double down on that racehorse. Um,
yeah.
524.99.
All right, so I've got I got 542.94, so we're pretty close there. Um, and then let's say 523.55.
No, we're pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close there. Yeah, I mean, just makes sense. Just makes sense. I mean, volume wasn't great Thursday, Friday, but ER kind of dwindling a little bit as well. Maybe some more boring stuff in there. A couple good ones still, though. Don't get me wrong. I know you looked. There's some good ones, but not. It's not like
Yeah.
7 a day, 9 out of 10 on the street names like the last 2 weeks.
Right, right.
Kind of slowing down there, but I think the ones that people don't know are better. To be honest with you.
Um,
Um,
yeah, no, they are, and I mean, and people know it, but Bros is a good example. I went 2 for 1 in the wrong direction, but the put was shorter expiration, so the put went to $800 plus.
you still came
Um,
out green the wrong way.
yes,
Jesus,
significantly so. Yeah.
significantly
Um,
so.
yeah, because
Love it.
the time's pretty cheap in Bros, so the options, and they were far out of the money, but plausible for where we're going and where we still might go. Given
It's a
how
fifty.
that stock works.
It's a $50
But
stock.
yeah, that's why I don't do I don't do same expiration, same distance from the money. That's not how I do a straddle with earnings. I there's a little more to it in terms of how whales are positioned. So I basically bought exactly what they did, and then just it didn't go the way I thought, but that's fine. 20% plus. If I'm going to be wrong, then I'm well covered when something's $5 in the money. On a stock that price.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I did well in that. Yeah,
Well, it's usually it's the flat that'll kill you. I bet. I assume.
yeah, yeah.
Or especially with is it high IV? You buy some high IV and it goes flat
Right.
on you.
Yeah, yeah,
That's where you die, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're 200-300% IV, you're in some
That's
trouble.
a,
It's why I haven't really been in Carvana on earnings.
yeah.
That IV pushes 400-500%. So
God.
um, even the people, the time it went 60%, that was equivalent to if you held John Deere overnight and it went 1.5%. Like that. I mean, that's like in terms of what the premium movement.
Yeah, I got you.
So yeah.
it seems to me. I'll save that for the other session. All right, you ready to get to work?
Yeah. I'll grab some coffee
Sure,
and
sure.
we'll reset there. Yep.
Awesome. Like and subscribe for more. Link somewhere, people.
Yeah, exactly.